Hello and welcome back to Full Time Whistle.
Hi.
So, this is the new series. We're going to call it Teams in Trouble. So, it's a bit premature to say teams in trouble this close into the season. So, what are we? 3 games of the Premier League season?
Yeah.
So, it's a bit close to say. But there are some teams showing signs of worry. And one team that strikes to me is Chelsea.
Yeah. Not had the best of starts.
I mean, it's not a horrendous start, but if it carries on like that, I mean, look how much money they spent in the transfer window.
Yeah. You have the
close
figure.
to 200 million, if not more, that they spend in the transfer window, shoring up that team. I mean, with that many signings, it does take a long time to get players to gel together, to get that play style across that Frank wants to put across.
I mean,
doesn't it? It's not just going to happen like that overnight.
I mean, I think we could see last season that obviously Frank knew what he was doing, basically.
I mean, a lot of Chelsea fans weren't happy. Not Chelsea fans, they weren't buzzing, but a lot of other fans were putting into perspective. He finished off with less points and a place less than what Sarri finished with. But Chelsea fans called it a better season than Sarri's.
But yeah, I think you have to look at kind of what it's more behind the scenes kind of stuff, isn't it, with Sarri? I think that's what it was, and
obviously that thing that happened with Kepa. Obviously, we'll get into Kepa as well in this video because there's a big decision there made by Frank again. But how safe is Frank's job, do we think?
I think, well, you've got to look at it at what they did last season, and then for him...
Chelsea aren't shy of getting rid of a manager, though, are they? They're not shy.
But for the board to back him and spend that amount of money, and obviously Frank's stature at the club, I think buys you a bit more time as well.
But does it being Frank give him a longer opportunity, or do you reckon they'll treat him like any other manager? Because if any other manager spends that much money and flops, are you going to get rid of them, or are you going to back them with more money?
Well, at the end of the day, football's a results business, and the results will speak for themselves, won't they? So, no, I don't think, to an extent, yeah, it might have an effect, but if the results don't pick up, and the results don't, if the results don't match what the target was at the start of the season, if the board turned around and said to him, we're going to give you this amount of money, but we want this place, but we want Champions League places or whatever, then if they're not meeting that target, if they're not on track to get that target, at the end of the day,
it goes.
Yeah.
So if we're speaking about results, let's just talk about the latest results. So it's 3-3 to West Brom. We've both seen this game, and Chelsea first half were very, very poor.
It's not it's just mistakes.
Well, it's not the fact that they were poor. It was 3 mistakes that led to 3 goals.
I mean, it's just,
and Alonso was at fault for 2 of them.
The first one just heads it straight to the West Brom player.
I don't know where he's thinking when he's heading that ball. I mean, my first thing is either head it out for a throw or you head it up the line. You never head the ball like that across.
Yeah, it's coming across
your back line.
Yeah. It's just easy.
And then,
yeah.
And Thiago Silva, one of the most experienced centre backs in the world, probably has about 6 trophy cabinets.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put anything on him doing that. What he did, letting the ball slip on them, similar to Gerrard. It literally was a Gerrard moment.
Yeah, it's just basic stuff, isn't it? And
then for the corner, Reece James was getting a lot of stick, but I don't think it's Reece James. Yes, he's sleeping, but it's Alonso's man. Alonso didn't follow his man. Similar to the Fernandes mistake for Ollie March for Brighton. He doesn't follow his man, and he's just free at the back post. It's a brilliantly worked corner routine.
Yeah, it's one
straight
of those,
off the training ground into the back of the net.
Yeah, they're all just ball watching. I don't know if they're supposed to be doing zonal marking or man marking, but they're just all over the shop. It's just a simple.
The point I've got to say is though, I don't think it's just Chelsea. I mean, obviously I'm a Derby fan, and looking back at Frank's time at Derby, defensively we weren't sound. We were letting in silly goals and silly mistakes. I mean, the bloody playoff final comes to mind for that one. But yeah, defensively, I don't know what Frank does in training, but it always seems like his team's got to go behind to come out and pull in a victory or pulling a game.
I think
because when he was at Derby, Frank Lampard had I think it was the best stats in England for teams coming from behind to win a game.
Which is obviously a stat you don't want, really.
It's not. I mean, the win's good, but you shouldn't have to go behind to kick on to get a reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it stems from kind of Frank as a player. He was an attacking midfielder, wasn't he? And that's probably
he liked to roam, didn't he? He liked to have his own.
That's probably the type of football, obviously, he wants to play, and it gets results.
It's entertaining football to watch, but if your striker's having an off day, then it's not going to look good for your club.
And I mean, obviously Chelsea and Premier League clubs will have kind of defensive coaches as well that work on that kind of stuff. But you can have
they've got Ben Chilwell coming back as well.
Yeah, you can have the best defenders in the world, which arguably you could say they've got some.
So you got they signed Thiago Silva, and they've signed Ben Chilwell.
But it's the setup that you play, the football that you play, the formation that you play, and the guys in front of them as well, that ultimately determine how good defensively you are. It's not one individual.
He's bench Kepa, Azabalaga, or however you say his name.
Yeah.
And then could Caballero have done better for Robinson's first goal? It's across his body. On Match of the Day, they did show a highlight of Kepa having a go and moaning to one of the other players on the bench for how he would have done better in that scenario. But that just says Kepa.
I mean, anyone can sit. I can sit there and say I'd have saved that, but I know I wouldn't.
There was bodies in front of him. For me, I think the keeper could have done better.
Yeah.
I mean, Caballero's never really been a world-class goalkeeper. But they have brought the new goalkeeper in. So I think that's their 9th signing, something like that this season.
Yeah. I mean, is it a weak point for them?
Well, it's been a weak point since Courtois left, really, hasn't it? I mean, signing Kepa for 70 million, and he's let the most goals in from outside the box in the Premier League, closely followed by Jordan Pickford, but he's only got little arms.
But I mean, you have to obviously De Gea. This is probably a bad example actually, but De Gea was good at some point. But when he first joined Man United, everyone said he was terrible, but they stuck with him.
Yeah, it did take him a while to set in De Gea, and for me, De Gea, it's his reactions, and you could say the same about Kepa. He has got quick reactions. He has made some remarkable saves, but as a goalkeeper, your mistakes outdo your saves because you don't see a good save in a stat.
Yeah.
The stat you do see is the goals that have been let in.
Yeah. And that's what everyone remembers.
That's what everyone. Yeah, everyone remembers a goalkeeper's mistake. Rob Green at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Scott Carlson for England. Everybody remember. Karius in the Champions League final with 2 mistakes.
Yeah.
So for a goalkeeper, it's a hard life, but you can't be making silly mistakes like that. And obviously, it's backfired on Frank, and his replacement goalkeeper's he's not as good.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, well, what do you do if you either stick with your guy and concede even more goals, but hope that he finds some form, or you bring in the backup goalkeeper. He's not he's not as good as or as talented. And then you alienate your first choice goalkeeper, don't you? But, yeah.
But for me, Frank's got to shore up. They need a better centre-back partnership. If they bought a goalkeeper in, I mean, think of a seesaw. You've got Thiago Silva on one side, and you've got Christensen on the other.
Yeah.
That's a very heavily weighted one-sided seesaw. Christensen's good. Tomori's not ready. I think a loan move could do for Tomori. Don't think Rudiger's the best person to have there either, or Zuma. They need somebody else at Thiago Silva's stature, because he's 36. He's not going to be around at Chelsea for much. He's only signed a 1-year deal. So they need somebody else. Reece James, I think he's good to say where he is in his age. I think he does warrant his starting 11 place. But I think they need a better centre back along with Thiago Silva.
Yeah. So we talked about, well, this title of this video was teams in trouble. What are we defining as teams in trouble? I mean, they're not exactly going to go bust tomorrow, Chelsea. But
They're not.
What,
They're not.
what,
I mean, they might have a transfer ban again for selling underage kids, but
possibly.
we'll put a pin in that.
But are they in trouble in terms of what they want to achieve this season? I don't know.
The only way I could see them being in trouble is it takes too long for them to gel and for Lampard to find his best team.
Yeah.
Because it's all good getting all these players in that are top dogs, but if they don't gel, if they're not your best team when they're gelled together, you're paying a lot of wages, paying a lot of money for players who might be sitting on the bench.
Yeah, and I think that Chelsea fans would expect something this
Chelsea fans, they're a
this
hard
season.
group of fans. Chelsea fans, they're a hard group of fans to like get on your side.
I think
Sarri's
yeah.
a great example. He won an FA Cup, won the Europa League, and he still got the boot.
Yeah, I think they.
Well, I don't think he won the FA Cup, so I think they lost that, didn't they, because of Kepa.
They need something this season. I think some kind of silverware at the very least. One, I'd say.
But yeah, I think that concludes our first episode of Teams in Trouble. Even though it's a bit premature to say that Chelsea are in trouble, but
We'll probably
we'll
revisit this
signs there
with 3 games to go. So we've done it 3
We'll
games
see,
in, and 3 games to go.
See how right/wrong. See if Lampard is in the driving seat when we come to talk about this.
Exactly. Right. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.